We have a lot of thank yous, but the big one is to all of you here and all of you online, thank you. Every single one of you who attends this conference makes it what it is. I'm incredibly grateful to you all. If you have a suggestion for a future DjangCon US venue, please shoot an email to hello@defna.org. We are hoping to announce next year's venue next month. We also have some extra COVID tests, and they expire soon, as well as some stickers. They're all laying out at the registration desk. Feel free to grab them on your way out. Again, I urge anyone who's interested in getting more involved to reach out to us at hello@DjangCon.us. It's really, really wonderful people to work with. I'll be looking at this hashtag tonight, so please post some stuff for me to look at. And on the Slack tonight, 7 p.m., trivia contest. Sprints tomorrow. Thank you very much to Cactus for hosting these. Big thanks to 6 Feet Up for being our diamond sponsor, #1. And Platform SH. Our platinum sponsors, RevSys, Aptable, and Cactus. And all our gold sponsors, Lincoln Loop, Two Rock Software, JBS Solutions, Foxley Talent, the Wharton School, Rollbar, Century, Coherence, Ansible, Scout APM, JetBrains, and Wagtail CMS. Now, I made a mistake in not including this slide in previous days, but we all love PostgreSQL. They are a community sponsor. Thank you very much. Our bronze sponsors this year were Healthvana and TestDriven.io. Django Software Foundation, Python Software Foundation, incredible work. We couldn't do it without y'all. And of course, DEFNA puts on this whole gig. Wonderful organization. Big thanks to all our speakers. You all shared so much with us, and we are so grateful for the work that you put into this. I think we had a good, diverse lineup. I was thrilled to see so many people speaking at their first DjangCon US. If you are a speaker and did not get a thank you note, please come up here right after this and get one. Our talk reviewers did a great job of selecting talks for this year's program. We had a couple of talk mentors who were available to help people troubleshoot and work through issues with their talk. We had some great local partners and vendors, made things run smoothly. Thank you to our online moderators. It's wonderful to have your help. Thank you to our volunteers who worked the desk and the cards and made the talks happen on schedule. And finally, if I could ask all the organizers to come up on stage with me. It's really a testament to everyone involved in this year's conference that these folks mostly came up to me this week to ask if there was anything I needed, not to ask me to do something for them. So thank you, Drew Winstell, Jeff Triplett, Kojo Adrisa, Catherine Holmes, Adam Fast, Katie Michael, Ken Whitesell, Dawn Wages, Carol Gans, Peter Grandstaff, Tim Schilling, Erin Mullaney, Rachel Calhoun, Meta Rolando, Michael Clark, Nicole Dominguez, Jason Judkins, Noah Kantrowitz, Tim Allen, and my co-chair, Adrian Frankie.